8 worst disasters in Star Trek's entire timeline. Star Trek has always been more than just a science fiction franchise. It's a meditation on the future of humanity, exploring how hope, technology, and diplomacy can shape the galaxy. But even in this optimistic universe, not everything goes according to plan. Across centuries of storytelling, Starfleet and its allies have faced catastrophes that reshaped civilizations, tested moral boundaries, and sometimes threatened the very fabric of space and time. From wars that shattered empires to accidents that erased billions of lives, Star Trek's timeline is peppered with disasters that leave scars on both individuals and entire species. Here are the 8 worst disasters in Star Trek's entire timeline, moments that stand as stark reminders of how fragile even the boldest future can be. 8. The Genesis planet's catastrophic failure. The Genesis device was designed as one of the most revolutionary technologies in Federation history, a tool to terraform dead planets into thriving ecosystems within hours. But in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, the dream turned into a nightmare. The unstable prototype, activated in the Wrath of Khan, created the Genesis planet, but its very foundation was flawed. Instead of producing a lasting paradise, the world collapsed in on itself, dooming any chance of sustained life. This wasn't just a scientific failure, it was an ethical disaster. The Klingons considered the device a potential weapon of mass destruction, capable of erasing entire civilizations by rewriting their worlds. Its collapse served as a chilling reminder that unchecked ambition, even in the name of creation, can lead to planetary-scale ruin. 7. The Battle of Wolf 359. Perhaps no single event traumatized Starfleet more than the Borg's attack at Wolf 359. In Star Trek: The Next Generations, the best of both worlds, a Borg cube, commanded by a Locutus-possessed Captain Jean-Luc Picard, slaughtered 11,000 Starfleet officers and annihilated 39 ships. For many officers, including Deep Space Nine's Commander Benjamin Sisko, the battle represented both a personal and professional tragedy. Wolf 359 was devastating not only because of the sheer loss of life, but also because it shattered Starfleet's illusion of invincibility. Until then, the Federation had faced threats from the Klingons, Romulans, and others, but the Borg introduced an enemy that could not be reasoned with, an enemy that assimilated rather than conquered. The scars of this battle lingered for decades, influencing how Starfleet prepared for the Dominion War and other galactic threats. 6. The Dominion War. War on a galactic scale is rare in Star Trek, but the Dominion War was unavoidable once the Founders and their Jem'Hadar armies pushed into the Alpha Quadrant. Chronicled in Star Trek: Deep Space Nine, the war lasted for years and claimed the lives of millions across Federation, Klingon, Cardassian, and Romulan territories. Entire fleets were destroyed, planets were occupied or bombarded into ruins. And while the Federation survived, its ideals were tested at every turn. Section 31 unleashed a biological plague against the Founders. Starfleet made morally gray compromises, and the Klingons nearly collapsed from the toll. By the time peace was declared, victory came at a cost so staggering that many questioned whether it was worth it. The Dominion War remains one of Star Trek's darkest chapters, a prolonged disaster that reshaped alliances and changed the Federation forever. 5. Praxis explosion and the Klingon Empire's collapse. In Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, the Klingon moon Praxis exploded due to reckless overmining and energy exploitation. The disaster crippled the Klingon homeworld's environment, poisoned its atmosphere, and left the Empire on the brink of collapse. The Klingons, a proud warrior race, were suddenly vulnerable, forced to negotiate peace with the Federation or face extinction. While the peace talks eventually laid the foundation for the Federation-Klingon alliance, the disaster itself was staggering. Praxis's destruction killed untold numbers of Klingon workers and sent shockwaves across interstellar politics. In many ways, this was Star Trek's most direct commentary on real-world issues, environmental destruction, energy crises, and the delicate balance between survival and pride. 4. The Temporal Cold War. Time travel disasters are uniquely Star Trek, and none looms larger than the Temporal Cold War arc in Star Trek: Enterprise. Across centuries, multiple factions fought for control over the timeline, resulting in cascading disasters. One of the most catastrophic outcomes was the altered timeline that created the Xindi attack on Earth. In 2153, a Xindi weapon sliced through Florida, killing 7 million people and leaving a scar across the continent. While Starfleet eventually prevented Earth's total annihilation, the attack's impact on humanity was profound. It forced Starfleet to accelerate militarization, disrupted early diplomatic efforts, and cost countless lives. The temporal Cold War itself highlighted the dangers of tampering with causality, showing that sometimes the greatest disasters are the ones that ripple invisibly through history. 3. The Phobos supernova and Romulus's destruction. Few disasters in Star Trek resonate as strongly as the destruction of Romulus in 2387. Introduced in Star Trek 2009 and later expanded upon in Star Trek Picard, the Phobos star went supernova, annihilating the Romulan homeworld and much of its surrounding system. Billions perished, and one of the galaxy's most powerful empires was thrown into chaos overnight. The fallout was catastrophic. Refugee crises spread across the Alpha Quadrant. Old alliances fractured. Starfleet's failure to mount a sufficient rescue operation created distrust, bitterness, and political instability that would echo into the 25th century. The destruction of Romulus wasn't just a disaster, it was a turning point in galactic history. 2. The Burn. In the far future of Star Trek, Discovery's third season, the galaxy was brought to its knees by a mysterious event known as the Burn. In an instant, nearly all dilithium across the galaxy destabilized and exploded, destroying warp-capable ships and killing countless lives. Starfleet collapsed, interstellar trade crumbled, and the once connected galaxy was fragmented into isolated worlds. The burn was caused, tragically, by the trauma of a single Kelpien child who had been born connected to dilithium resonance. While the Federation eventually rebuilt, the disaster demonstrated how fragile even advanced civilizations could be when reliant on one resource. It was perhaps the greatest single collapse of interstellar infrastructure in Star Trek's history. 1. The attack on Mars and the synthetic band. At the top of the list stands the attack on Mars in 2385. Revealed in Star Trek Picard. On the eve of the Federation's planned rescue mission for Romulan refugees, rogue synthetic workers on Mars turned against their human counterparts. They unleashed devastating attacks that ignited the atmosphere and destroyed the Utopia Planitia shipyards. Over 90,000 people died, and the heart of Starfleet's Starship production was lost. But the greater disaster was political and cultural. In response, the Federation imposed a complete ban on synthetic life forms, effectively reversing centuries of progress in artificial intelligence and civil rights. Starfleet abandoned its rescue mission, leaving billions of Romulans to die in the Phobos supernova. The attack on Mars was more than a tragedy, it was a betrayal of Federation ideals. The combination of mass death, political paranoia, and moral compromise ensured its place as the most catastrophic disaster in Star Trek's timeline. Final thoughts. Star Trek may be defined by hope, exploration, and the promise of a better tomorrow, but its disasters are equally essential to the story. Each calamity, whether born of hubris, war, natural phenomena, or political failure, reminds us that progress is never guaranteed. These disasters test Starfleet's ideals, shape its history, and ultimately reveal the resilience of those who strive to live up to the motto, to boldly go where no one has gone before. Through tragedy, the Federation learns, adapts, and evolves. And in that way, even Star Trek's darkest disasters become